The sea is vast, mysterious, and unforgiving. For centuries, it has claimed ships and souls, leaving behind stories that chill to the bone. But do you know some ships never truly disappeared? These ghost ships continue to haunt the open waters, appearing to sailors as spectral reminders of their cursed fates. Today, we uncover the terrifying true stories behind 5 of the most infamous ghost ships still sailing the seas. Beware, for these stories may keep you up at night, wondering what horrors lurk beneath the waves. 1. The Flying Dutchman ship. Our first tale begins with the legend of the Flying Dutchman, the most famous ghost ship of them all. This ship is said to sail the oceans forever, never able to return home. The story of the Flying Dutchman has haunted sailors for hundreds of years, and even today some claim to see its ghostly sails glowing on the horizon. But how did this ship become cursed? And why does it sail without rest? Let me take you back to the beginning of this terrifying tale. In the 1600s, the Flying Dutchman was captained by a man named Hendrik van der Decken. He was known for being brave and determined, but also reckless and stubborn. One day, Captain van der Decken and his crew set out on a dangerous journey around the southern tip of Africa, a place known as the Cape of Good Hope. This part of the ocean was infamous for its terrible storms, where huge waves and violent winds could crush even the strongest ships. As the ship approached the Cape, a storm unlike any they had ever seen began to form. The crew, terrified for their lives, pleaded with the captain, "Please, Captain van der Decken, turn the ship around. We cannot survive this storm." But the captain was a proud man. He refused to turn back. In fact, he shouted at the storm, challenging it, swearing that he would sail through it no matter what. And that's when it happened. Legend says that at the height of the storm, a mysterious figure appeared on the deck. Some say it was an angel, others say it was the devil himself. This figure warned Captain van der Decken, "Turn back, or face the consequences." But the captain, in his arrogance, refused to listen. He swore that he would keep sailing, even if it meant he'd sail forever. And that is exactly what happened. The moment those words left his mouth, a curse was placed on the Flying Dutchman. The ship was doomed to sail the seas for eternity, never able to return home. The crew would never feel solid ground beneath their feet again. They were cursed to sail through storms, fog, and darkness, with no escape. The Flying Dutchman became a ghost ship. For centuries, sailors from all over the world have claimed to see the Flying Dutchman. They describe it as a ghostly ship, glowing with an eerie light, appearing out of nowhere in the middle of the sea. Some say it sails just above the water, while others report seeing the crew, pale, ghostly figures, silently watching from the deck. Many believe that anyone who sees the Flying Dutchman is doomed to a terrible fate. Ships that encounter it often meet disaster soon after. It's said that storms follow in its wake, and that sailors who see the cursed ship are never heard from again. Even today, some sailors report seeing the Flying Dutchman. In the early 20th century, a British ship claimed to have spotted the ghostly vessel during a storm. The ship's captain reported seeing the Dutchman appear out of the mist, glowing in the moonlight. Moments later, the storm grew stronger, and the British ship barely survived. Is it a warning, a sign of disaster? Or perhaps it's the souls of Captain van der Decken and his crew, forever searching for a way to lift their curse, doomed to wander the oceans for all eternity. The Flying Dutchman is more than just a story. It's a reminder of the ocean's power and the price of arrogance. And for those who sail the world's oceans, the legend serves as a chilling warning. For somewhere out there beneath the waves, the ghost ship still sails, waiting to be seen, waiting to bring disaster to those who cross its path. The next time you're near the sea, keep an eye on the horizon, because you never know when the Flying Dutchman will appear again. Next, we delve into the mystery of the Mary Celeste, a story that has baffled historians and sailors for over a century. Imagine you're out at sea on a calm, peaceful day. You see a ship, just like yours, floating in the distance. But something is wrong. No one is on deck. The sails are torn, and the ship, it seems empty. This is the true and terrifying story of the Mary Celeste, the most famous ghost ship that still haunts the ocean to this day. In the year is 1872. A ship called the Dei Grazia is sailing across the Atlantic Ocean. Captain David Morehouse and his crew are on a regular trip when they spot something strange in the distance. A ship drifting aimlessly, its sails fluttering in the wind. The captain looks through his telescope and sees something odd. There's no one steering the ship. No one walking on deck. The name of the ship on the side is Mary Celeste. The crew of the Dei Grazia decide to get closer. They call out, but there's no answer. Silence. Just the sound of the ocean waves crashing against the empty ship. The Mary Celeste was supposed to be on a journey from New York to Italy, but here it was, floating in the middle of the ocean, with no sign of life. Where had the crew gone? What had happened to them? Captain Morehouse sends a few of his men to board the Mary Celeste and investigate. As they climb aboard, an eerie silence greets them. The ship is empty, completely deserted. But the strange part? Everything is still in place. The cargo of alcohol barrels is untouched. The food supply in the kitchen is fresh. There's no sign of a fight or any struggle. It's as if the crew just vanished into thin air. In the captain's cabin, the bed is made, and his personal belongings are still there. Even the ship's logbook, which recorded every part of the journey, was found. The last entry was from 9 days earlier, but nothing in it hinted at danger. This is when the mystery deepens. The Mary Celeste wasn't wrecked, it wasn't attacked by pirates. So why was it floating, completely empty with no one on board? The story of the Mary Celeste spreads like wildfire. Newspapers call it a ghost ship. People start guessing what might have happened. Some say it was pirates, but there were no signs of violence and nothing was stolen. Others believe there was a mutiny, where the crew turned against the captain, but again, no proof. Another theory is that the crew abandoned ship thinking it was sinking, but why would they do that? The ship was in perfect condition. It didn't make sense. But then, darker, more chilling theories began to emerge. Could the crew have been taken by something not of this world? Was it a sea monster? Or maybe something paranormal? One of the creepiest theories is that the Mary Celeste is haunted. People start to believe that the ship was cursed, or that some supernatural force took the crew away. After all, how can an entire crew vanish without a trace, leaving no clues behind? Some sailors even refuse to go near the area where the ship was found, fearing they might fall victim to the same fate as the Mary Celeste's crew. But there's one small clue that puzzles everyone. The lifeboat was missing. Did the crew leave the ship on their own? But why would they leave when the ship was perfectly fine? Could they have been fleeing something? Something terrifying enough to make them abandon ship in the middle of the ocean? It's as if the crew had been in a hurry, scared, fleeing from something unknown. Was there a sudden disaster? Did they see something coming that we will never understand? Or did they leave in the middle of the night, into the cold, dark sea, never to return? After the crew of the Dei Gracia found the Mary Celeste, they brought it to shore, but the questions never stopped. Where did the crew go? What happened to them? Even now, over 150 years later, no one knows for sure. The ship itself was sold and continued to sail, but it was always surrounded by bad luck. Every crew that sailed on the Mary Celeste faced strange accidents and misfortune. Many believe the ship was cursed from the moment it was found drifting, empty, in the vast ocean. The mystery of the Mary Celeste remains unsolved to this day. Was it a terrible accident? Or was it something more sinister, something that can never be explained? The sea holds many secrets, but none as chilling as the Mary Celeste, a ghost ship that will forever sail in the depths of our imagination. Next, we delve into the mystery of the SS Ourang Medan ship. It is true that the ocean is a place of beauty and mystery, but sometimes it holds secrets that can terrify even the bravest sailors. This is the story of the SS Ourang Medan, a ship with a haunting past, a ghostly crew, and a message that still sends shivers down the spine. In 1947, a strange and terrifying message was heard by ships in the waters of the South Pacific. The voice on the radio, shaky and faint, sent out a distress signal that chilled everyone who listened. The message was simple, but horrifying. All officers, including the captain, are dead, lying in chart room and bridge, possibly whole crew dead. There was a long, terrifying pause, and then the final words, "I die," and then silence. The SS Ourang Medan was found not far from where the distress signal was sent. A rescue ship, the Silver Star, approached the ghostly vessel, expecting to find survivors, or at least some answers. But what they found was beyond anything they could have imagined. The ship was eerily still, drifting aimlessly in the calm waters. No one was moving on board. The crew of the Silver Star decided to board the Ourang Medan, and what they discovered would haunt them forever. Every single crew member of the Ourang Medan was dead. Their bodies were scattered across the deck, the bridge, and the engine room. But it was the way they were found that terrified the rescuers. The faces of the dead were frozen in pure horror, mouths wide open, eyes staring into nothing, as if they had seen something unimaginable before their deaths. Even the ship's dog was found dead, teeth bared in a snarl, as if trying to protect itself from something unseen. What made the scene even more chilling was the fact that there were no signs of a struggle, no injuries, no damage to the ship. It was as if the crew had simply died of fear. But what could have caused such terror? What had they seen in their final moments? As the rescuers searched the Ourang Medan, something even more terrifying happened. A fire suddenly broke out in the ship's hold. The crew of the Silver Star barely escaped with their lives, jumping back onto their ship as the Ourang Medan burst into flames. Within minutes, the ship was consumed by fire, and just as suddenly as it appeared, the Ourang Medan sank into the ocean's depths, taking with it any chance of discovering what really happened aboard that cursed ship. To this day, no one knows for sure what happened to the crew of the SS Ourang Medan. Some believe it was a leak of dangerous chemicals or poisonous gases stored in the ship's cargo. Others think the crew might have been struck down by a paranormal force, something unseen that frightened them to death. But one thing is certain, Whatever it was, it left the crew of the Ourang Medan with expressions of unspeakable horror. The story of the SS Ourang Medan remains one of the ocean's darkest mysteries. Sailors still whisper about the ghost ship that drifted through the waters, its crew lost forever, and its terrifying final message still echoing across the seas. I die. Was it a deadly gas leak, a curse, or something far more sinister? We may never know. But the legend of the Ourang Medan continues to haunt the minds of those who dare to set sail. Next, we delve into the mystery of the Carroll A, a ship that set sail on a routine voyage but was found abandoned, with its crew vanished without a trace. It was 1920, and the Carroll A, a massive 5-masted schooner, was on a simple journey from Virginia to Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. It was a regular cargo ship carrying coal, led by a veteran captain, William Merritt, and his experienced crew. But soon after leaving the dock, strange things began to happen. First, Captain Merritt fell seriously ill just as they were setting out. He had to be replaced immediately, and a new captain, Captain Willis Wormel, took command. Wormel was a seasoned captain with years of sailing experience, but little did anyone know this would be his last voyage. Months later, in January 1921, as the Carroll A was sailing back from Brazil, a lightship keeper in North Carolina reported something odd. As the ship passed by Cape Lookout, the crew on board acted strangely. The man who spoke to the lightship keeper was not the captain, but a crew member, and he told the keeper that the ship had lost its anchors. What was even more unusual was that the crew seemed disheveled and unkempt, completely unlike how a professional crew should look. And then, the Carroll A sailed on, disappearing into the fog, never to be seen again, until 5 days later. On January 31st, 1921, the Carroll A was found wrecked on the treacherous shores of Cape Hatteras, in an area known as the Graveyard of the Atlantic. But there was something terrifying about the discovery. When the rescue crew boarded the ship, they found no one, no captain, no crew. It was as if everyone had simply vanished into thin air. The ship itself was in good condition, no signs of a struggle, no evidence of a storm. The only things missing were the ship's lifeboats, the logbook, and personal belongings of the crew. But the strangest part? The food was still laid out on the table in the kitchen, untouched, as if the crew had planned to eat at any moment before they disappeared. So what happened to the crew of the Carroll A? Over the years, there have been countless theories, but none can explain the eerie events in full. Some say it was piracy, that modern-day pirates attacked the ship, stealing valuables and forcing the crew to flee. Others believe it was mutiny, that the crew turned against Captain Wormel, abandoning the ship in a rush. Then there's the most chilling theory of all, supernatural forces. Many believe that the ship sailed into an area cursed by the sea itself, where the spirits of lost sailors haunt the waters, claiming ships for their own. After all, the Graveyard of the Atlantic is known for being one of the most dangerous areas in the world, with hundreds of shipwrecks littering the ocean floor. Could the Carroll A have fallen victim to an ancient curse? Adding to the mystery is the fact that the US government quickly took control of the investigation and then closed it with no official explanation. Some speculate that the ship was involved in secret rum running during the Prohibition era and that the crew was taken out by rival smugglers. Others wonder if the ship encountered a secret military operation at sea and was silenced to keep the truth hidden. Months after the shipwreck, a fisherman made a chilling discovery. He found a message in a bottle washed up on the shore. The note claimed to be written by a crew member of the Carroll A, saying that they were being held captive by pirates and needed help. But was the note real? Or was it a cruel prank to keep the legend of the ghost ship alive? To this day, no one knows. The Carroll A remains one of the sea's greatest mysteries, a ghost ship with no crew and no answers. Some say on stormy nights, if you sail near the Cape Hatteras coast, you can still see the faint outline of the Deering, drifting silently through the mist, forever searching for her lost crew. What happened to the crew of the Carroll A? Was it mutiny, piracy, or something far more sinister? We may never know the truth, but the story of the Deering will continue to haunt sailors for generations to come. Finally, we delve into the mystery of the Octavius ship, a ship that mysteriously vanished and became one of the most terrifying ghost stories in maritime history. What happened aboard this doomed vessel? And why has its chilling tale haunted sailors for centuries? This is the story of the Octavius, and it begins in the year 1761. The Octavius set sail with one goal in mind: to conquer the Northwest Passage. But what the brave sailors didn't know was that this journey would be their last. As the Octavius entered the Arctic, the conditions became harsher than anyone had imagined. The sea turned to ice, trapping the ship in a frozen prison. The crew was stranded, miles away from help, and the cold began to seep into their bones. Days turned into weeks, and hope began to fade. When the whaling ship spotted the Octavius, it was like seeing a ghost. The ship had been missing for over a decade, and there it was, frozen solid in the Arctic ice. But nothing could prepare them for what they would find inside. The crew was frozen in time. The captain sat at his desk, still writing his final entry as death overtook him. The other sailors were found in their bunks or standing at their posts, their faces twisted in expressions of terror and despair. It was as if the cold had frozen not just their bodies, but their very souls. What happened to the Octavius and its crew remains a mystery. Some say the ship was cursed by the unforgiving Arctic, while others believe that the crew was driven mad by the endless cold and isolation. Did they die of starvation, or was there something more sinister at play? The truth may never be known, but the ghostly sight of the frozen crew has haunted sailors for centuries. But this is not the end of the story. For many years after its discovery, sailors reported sightings of the Octavius, still drifting through the icy waters of the Arctic, crewless yet eerily intact. They say the ghostly ship continues its endless journey, trapped in time, with no living soul aboard to guide it. The Octavius remains one of the most chilling mysteries of the sea. A ship lost in time, frozen in death, and eternally cursed to sail the Arctic waters. Will you be the next to encounter it? Or is it still out there, silently waiting in the ice, its crew frozen forever? This is the story of the Octavius, one of the sea's most terrifying ghost ships. These are some of the ghost ships that continue to haunt the seas, carrying with them the souls of the lost and the damned. If you ever find yourself out on the open ocean, be careful, for you never know what might emerge from the fog. Join us next time on World Historic Tales as we uncover more mysteries, more legends, and more terrifying true stories from history's darkest corners. Until then, sail safely, and may the ghost ships of the past never cross your path.